Welcome back to Country Maintenance. Well, today I got some baseboards. I'm going to show you how to waterproof your, well, not completely waterproof, but how to prevent a lot of water damage to your baseboards, as well as how to make your baseboards look more elegant or more pronounced, a little bit more defined. There's some different schools of thought on this. Some people may say this isn't the right way. To me, this is the right way in that it's going to preserve your baseboards, prevent property damage, prevent water from getting where you don't want it, and going to keep your paint finish and your whole, your bathroom looking much better. You've got a couple water concerns. You've got a shower here, you've got a tub here. It's very likely that water is going to spill on the floor, and toilet, if a toilet overflows, all those things can and do happen. What can happen does happen. So gonna jump right in. Gonna show you kind of a before and after shot. I'll try to put that here on the video. It's always kind of nice to see the end goal right away, and then I'll just show you the high points. I don't think you need to see every last detail. And anyway, let's jump right in. Okay, so we're going to be caulking and painting these baseboards to make everything look better. With the caulking, you want to cut off the tip. I like to cut it off at a 45-degree angle, and it depends on the size of what you're caulking that you want to make your tip cut off at. So for something smaller, like the top of this baseboard, we don't want too much cut off of the tip, just enough to get us a nice small bead. It's small enough for the size that we want. And if you've got something bigger going on, well, then you may want a bigger bead. And we're going to be caulking at the baseboard or at the floor as well. And this is where the disagreement lies with some people don't want to caulk at the floor. I actually like to caulk at the floor. It means that no moisture is going to go inside there underneath the floor. The backing of this baseboard it's like a cardboard, and of course you want to clean things up as much as possible before you start the project. I like to use my finger and just rinse off my finger with water as I go, just a little bit. You can also use a rag, but I actually like to just use a little water to rinse off as I go. I'm going to use my finger to just smooth it in, get a nice smooth bead, and actually don't want it seated too high. Otherwise, if we get it too high, we're going to need to come back in with our color over the top and cut it in. And I'm actually going to show you just doing it white, but sometimes you need to come in higher. It just depends what the situation is, how bad. So I'm going to show you how to make your deal a little more pronounced. Back here, I'm just going to use my finger to get in there deeper because it's kind of a tight corner to get in there. I'm going to have to use almost like my pinky. Kind of squish it in. That's about the trickiest part of all this. Don't want our bead of caulking to be too wide, so I'm pulling off the extra material that's out here. About a 1/4 inch is about right, the line. And then we're going to take off any high spots from up higher. To get the stuff off my finger, I'll kind of use it on the edge here. That works really good. And then whatever I need to, I can periodically rinse off my finger at the sink. And as you can see, I'm just kind of using multiple fingers to get it just right. And again, I got a lot of stuff on my fingers, so I'm just going to use that in our deal here, so I'm not wasting my material, and then I'm not having to rinse off quite as often. But eventually it reaches a point where it's time to rinse the fingers off, lest I make more mess than I want to. Yeah, just rinse it off with the sink, in the sink. And it's just kind of keeping things nice and neat as you move along. Whatever it takes to kind of get the best finish on your caulking deal. We don't want any high lines or marks or ridges or anything that's going to stand out and look extra funky like that stuff there. We're going to want to take that down. Again, we're going for a nice smooth, even finish. I've got kind of a hole up there, so I'm going to be filling that in. So I can kind of use that to get rid of some of the excess when I got a major amount of excess here. And again, sometimes it reaches a point where you have to clean your finger off. Kind of a balance of just getting a feel for what works for you. Taking the excess off the floor here, bringing it in, make it nice and neat. And our paint's what's going to finish this off here, so the caulking is just filling it in. Filling in the L holes. Filling our deal there. I may need to kind of re-go over some of this. Again, just getting it just right. So this is going to create a water barrier. So the water is going to seep in underneath there and make our, our baseboard swell. That's what we're avoiding here. We want things to be swell, not swell. Yep. It's looking pretty good. Okay, and we're just going to continue the same thing all around. Now this other spot is going to be about our trickiest spot, is this corner to get into, as I can't really reach in there. So that's going to be the tricky one. And I may have to kind of use a paintbrush or something else to kind of push it in there. So I'm just putting some on the end of the paintbrush. I'm going to push it into the corner, and then I'll rinse off my paintbrush just because I can't get in there. But we still want to seal it off with the caulking. Bring that nice and smooth. I may need to add some water in there once I get it how I want it. That looks good. Oops. I'm kind of painting with the caulking, but just this corner is so tight. Not much other way here. Okay. Oh shoot. Gonna have to clean that up a bit. Okay, that's going to work, and we'll fix it up with our paint after. Get those nail holes with the little bit of extra that I had on the brush. I'll clean that stuff up too and rinse out my brush. That's going to be about the trickiest part of this whole thing. Everything else is pretty straightforward. But that one was a little bit tougher spot. Okay. And I got my brush cleaned off. Now I'll fix this up a little on the corner here. Again, I'll fix that up better when we get to the painting phase. Smooth all this out so it doesn't look funky when we go to paint it, or before we paint it. The other little bit of a tricky spot is right here. I've got an opening, so I'm just going to fill that in with the caulking. Whoop. Clean that up, clean that up. Alright. There's always stuff that shows up on camera that you can't see in person, so you guys are probably like, you missed the spot. Yeah, okay. And that little bit of higher spot I might need to fill in with some of the gray color or some of the color. Or not, it's kind of under the cabinet, so just making things better, not necessarily perfect, just better. Okay. Anyway, I'm just going to do the same thing all the way around. I don't think you need to see it all, but those were the trickiest spots, so I figured I'd cover those. And just going to finish it up around and then we'll paint it in. This stuff is a little bit of a judgment call how you want to do it. I'm actually going to be filling it in around to give it kind of a robust look. And I'm going to be filling all this stuff in. Now, the earlier you do this, probably the better, in that you'll prevent getting moisture. You can see it already maybe got a little moisture here and started to swell out a little bit. And if I had gotten this earlier, I could have prevented that. Water is going to do its thing. It can do a lot of damage. It can do a lot of good too. But in the wrong place, it's a friend that can kind of turn into an enemy. So, it's kind of cool to take some provisions to prevent that from happening. And caulking these baseboards is a good one. especially because we've got, several conditions here: shower, toilet, bathtub. All these things are possible to put some moisture where we don't want it. Okay, the caulking's all dried, and now I'm going to paint it up. Got my paint stirred up. What could speed you up is if you have a little container. I actually did not have a little container, so I'm just going to get it done out of the 5-gallon bucket. It's too much of an area. Got a little chip brush here. Some people like to mask it off. I actually do not like masking off. I prefer just to do it by hand and just get it done. I'm going to be cutting in above the top, and this is what's going to give it a little more robust look. Now that's up to you, how you do it. But I actually like that look. It gives it a little bit of a bigger profile on the baseboard. So between that and just painting it in, will make our deal better. And we're going to cut in over the caulking that's on the floor. Again, if you need to, you can use masking tape and mask it off, but I just like to get it in just like so. And the more I get used to it, just like this, the easier. You can save money on tape, save time on taping. And I just like how the finish comes out better. I can better tell where it's at without needing to take the tape off and everything and then figure it out from there. That's just how I like to do it. And again, you've got to do what works for you. Everybody's a little bit different, and that's okay too. I feel like I can take my time a little bit more this way, and then I didn't need to take the time to mask it off. And I realize there's some situations where you have to mask it off, and it's different, but on a floor like this, you don't have to. And if I do get something on the floor that I don't like, I'll just take my finger and wipe it off, clean it up, and then rinse off my finger. That's just how I roll, or in this case, that's how I paintbrush, not roll. Pun intended. I know, I'm a little weird. I like puns. But that's just me. It's probably not just me. Other people probably like them too. That's why we kind of use them. Anyway, this part under here, I'm just going to paint for now, and then I can always come back in later and do it with the gray. So I'm giving my baseboards a nice coat of paint as well, and then cutting in over the caulking. But as you can see, it makes the baseboard a bit more pronounced. In my opinion, a little bit more regal. A little bit beefier. Again, I'm just cutting it in like so. Anything I don't like, go over with my finger, take it off. And this will even clean up a little bit in the future with the mop and stuff over time. It won't always look as nice as it does now, but that's true no matter what the situation, but at least it's going to protect our deal that no water is going to get in there anymore. So, and it can last a good amount of time. And that's that. So I just got to paint in the rest, and that's that. And the same deal all the way around. You might have seen some of those additives for paint that make it smell good. I did a video on it, the paint sensations. And the baseboard and trim is actually a good place to use it in that it's kind of overpowering if you do too much of it, kind of overbearing if you do too much of it. But doing it on the baseboard and the trim, at least then it's not quite as much. And then it's also at the floor, so it can give off its odor, and in my opinion, it's kind of a good way to go with that stuff. If you like that stuff at all, it's okay. Around these corners, you got a lot of choices. I'm going to show you how I like to do them. How you like to do them is up to you. I'm actually going to paint over a little bit of my peel, but what I like is to bring them in this circle. Right in this corner, just like so. That's how I like it. And that might take a couple coats, but to me it has a nice look to it. Same on this corner. Kind of my signature, I guess. Again, that's a judgment call. Your call, your situation. It's all up to you. Some people don't like it the way that I'm doing it. That's the way that I'm doing it though. That's the way that I like it. And in my opinion, it preserves the finish and makes no place for water to get through. So that's my experience on this. It's not any rule on it. And again, some people probably don't like the way I'm doing it. But I just like that idea that no water is going to get in there. And the other side of that is that no pests are going to come out of there. Go in there, come out of there, either way. You know, if you live in a spot that has ants, I've had so many different types of ants on my property. I'm amazed. There's like every species. Got little tiny red ones, little tiny black ones, giant red ones, giant black ones. There's a little bit of everything out here. Almost all of them bite, and they're tenacious. So painting this means nothing's going to come out of there, out of these baseboards. Yep, we're moving right along. Ready to go, but getting there. Little painting project, and kind of better to do this early on. It's going to protect things. the corner. I like my little signature curve. Top part again, a little bit of judgment call, but I like to get it around. I just think it has a nice kind of regal look to it. That. Getting there. Okay, there it is, all finished, all painted in. Thanks for watching. Kung Fu Maintenance, over and out. Yep, you can always go through and do a little second coat, a little final touch up. Might go over that corner and that corner a little bit more. But that's that. And it just makes the baseboards pop out a little bit, be a little more pronounced. That's how I like them. Anyway, again, and protection for no water damage. That's the important part. Thanks for watching Kung Fu Maintenance. Over and out. Okay, and there it is on the final little bit. Do the second little coat there. Good to go.